Hello and welcome to the Lunchtime Look North. In the headlines, new figures show 3 out of 4 North East paramedics have been abused by people under the influence of alcohol. And the prisoner turned playwright whose new work is inspired by his friendship with a guard. Good afternoon. 3/4 of paramedics have been physically or verbally abused by patients or members of the public who've been drinking, according to new research. Alcohol campaigners who worked on the report with the North East Ambulance Service want the government to act urgently to tackle the problem. Our health correspondent Sharon Barber sent this report from Ambulance HQ.
Yes, I'm at the operational centre of the North East Ambulance Service in Newcastle. Behind me, these guys are dispatching ambulances, and it's a busy service and a service that's coming under even more pressure because of alcohol. Talk to us about the problems of alcohol.
Unfortunately, increasingly, there's a complexity of alcoholism or alcohol within our response to the patient, either with the patient themselves or with the bystanders, which is putting our staff under increasing pressure. They're facing increasing levels of verbal and physical assault, and that in itself is causing significant health and wellbeing issues for our staff.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And also to see you are with Balance. You were involved in this report and the research. What stood out to you of the findings?
Well, I think the key thing for me is to understand the toll that alcohol's placing upon frontline services within the region, and certainly the ambulance report that we've produced shows the impacts that it's having on paramedics and core staff from NEAS on a day-to-day basis.
So what do you want to happen? What does Balance want?
I think the key thing for me is government action. I think at a national level we need evidence-based action to reduce the price, promotion and availability of alcohol, and to ensure that actually it is taken seriously. People need to understand that alcohol is a harmful substance, and they need to appreciate the toll that it is having upon frontline services within this region and beyond.
Well, thank you both very much. We'll have more on this report tonight. Back to you.
A mother has been charged with the murder of her 3-year-old son in Durham. Police were called to Bracken Court in Usher Moor on November the 5th and remain at the scene while inquiries continue. Christina Robinson, who's 28, will appear before Newton Aycliffe Magistrates Court, charged with the murder of Dwell Arnia Robinson and child neglect. The mass die-off of large numbers of crabs and lobsters on the northeast coast last year is to be investigated by an independent panel. Inshore fishermen say their catches have been decimated by the wash-ups between Seaham and Robin Hood's Bay. The government says a naturally occurring algal bloom was the most likely cause, but academics have blamed a toxic chemical released by dredging. Both possibilities will be examined by the new panel of experts. A North East baby bank says the number of struggling families in need of its support has trebled in the last few weeks. Hartlepool Baby Bank provides a lifeline to families unable to buy the basics, like nappies, clothes and food. Volunteers say they're now supporting up to 160 families a week, and they believe even more people will be in need of their help as winter approaches and people face real hardship.
Families only putting the fridge on for a couple of hours a day because they think it's too expensive to run the fridge every day. Families getting excited because I've got dressing gowns or blankets because they don't want to put the heating on, or they're trying to minimise how much the heating's on. Families where the little ones had an injury because they couldn't afford a stairgate. It is hard out there, and it's becoming harder and harder. We're seeing an increase in professional families where one or both parents are working. It isn't the same groups that it was before. It's pretty much every walk of life now is coming for support.
An area of the Lake District will be formally designated a National Nature Reserve from today. 3,000 hectares of Ennerdale will become the biggest nature reserve in Cumbria and the 9th largest in England. Authorities say there's an increasing need for a better and more joined-up approach to nature recovery and management. An autobiographical play set in Durham Prison, written by and starring an ex-inmate, is making its debut at Live Theatre in Newcastle. 20 years ago, Geordie Rick Renton was jailed for a string of drug offences, and while he was behind bars, he became close mates with a prison officer who he chatted to through his cell door every night. The experience inspired this new work. Our arts reporter Sharuna Saga has been to meet the prisoner turned playwright.
What were you in for next door?
Section 20. You?
Kidnap. Long do you get?
3. You?
7.
How does it feel to have your play on here at Live Theatre in the shadow of the courts where you were sent down?
Spectacular. It feels absolutely amazing. Standing at the quayside and getting ready to turn right down the little walkway, I looked at the Crown Court and I thought, God, I've walked into that building. I think it was like 17 to 25 times. So it was the first time that I'd ever walked that close to it and not gone into it, just to bypass it and then take a little left into Live Theatre. And it felt like something off a film. It still feels like something off a film, you know?
Do you feel like you've made the wrong turn?
It feels like I've made the right turn.
Rick Renton served time at Durham Prison in the early noughties, which then had the highest inmate suicide rate in the country. The title of his new play, One Off, refers to what he'd hear shouted out regularly across his wing to announce another death.
Hey! Next door! Next door! Listening next door!
So a lot of the play is about a night watchman called Jock. I read somewhere that you used to spend hours talking to him at night.
Yeah, probably like 4 or 5 hours a night sometimes. He would clock on at about 8 o'clock and he would go and sort of wander up and down the unlit corridors and make sure the lads were all right, and then he would come by and we'd talk about Pop Idol and what had been on the newspapers, or like anecdotes from his past and what I was going to do with my life outside or what I was doing with it inside. I can't imagine what my time would have been like without him. He was my best friend in there, you know. We spent the majority of the time leant back, talking through the gap in the door. If he came to this show, I wouldn't be able to pick him out, but I could pick his voice out.
But you didn't even know his real name.
He wouldn't tell us it.
Not hungry, he says. Do you know where you are, kid?
I wonder what he'd think, knowing that you'd written this play inspired by your relationship with him.
I wonder. I would like to think that he would feel happy that he had such a profound impact on somebody, because he did.
Former rugby league player Kevin Sinfield is partway through his third of 7 ultramarathons in 7 days to raise money for motor neurone disease research. He started running just before 7 o'clock this morning, cheered on by a crowd of people in Otterburn in Northumberland. The former Leeds Rhino is on target to run more than 300 miles this week and passed through Newcastle earlier as he heads for today's finish in Chesterley Street. Not the optimum weather for running 40 miles, Paul.
No, I suppose the rain might keep him cool, but what an effort. Yeah, it's typical autumn weather over the next few days. Pretty unsettled, low pressure in charge, some spells of wet and windy weather at times. Now, as we head through this afternoon, we've got loads of rain at the minute, but it's gradually clearing away north and eastwards as we head towards tea time. Many places drying up, but hanging on to a lot of cloud. Temperatures peaking at 11 or 12 Celsius. No southeasterly winds, quite brisk, especially along the coasts and up over the higher ground. The rain continues to clear away this evening. Many places dry overnight. The risk of 1 or 2 showers drifting up from the south. Many places dry with clear spells though, and light winds. Temperatures will dip down pretty chilly in places, within a degree or 2 of freezing, maybe over parts of Northumberland. So a cold start tomorrow, but a drier, brighter picture for tomorrow. 1 or 2 showers, wouldn't completely rule out the odd passing shower, but many places will stay dry through the day. Much more broken clouds, some blue sky, a bit of late autumn sunshine. Not exactly warm though, 10 Celsius at very best tomorrow afternoon. Low pressure in charge, another spell of wet and windy weather tomorrow night and into Thursday. That lot gradually clears away so that by Friday at least we're into something a bit drier and brighter again. Alistair.
Poor old Kevin Sinfield there, he's got 4 more days of this. Thanks, Paul. And that's it from the lunchtime team here at Look North. Carol Malia's back at 6:30. Join us then if you can. Bye-bye.